TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Won't stop, come on, bring it higher.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. Oh, I get the hiccups, excuse me. Oh, super stoked. Fight Night Fortunes, good friend and colleague, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro, UFC 311, scheduled for California. And we'll talk about the wildfires and, of course, the potential maybe moving, I guess. I don't know. I'm not in that position. No, we're good there. Good. And I cheated on the headliner. Arman versus Islam, UFC 311. I'll get to those last names. Trust me on that. Shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download that app. It is free. Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. We had Terry Smith on after Paul Stone this morning. Head on over to atlantasteaksandseafood.com. Use the promo code STEAKS10. Get 10% off your full order. Take a look at the 4 subscription plans. Check a box. Have it delivered to your doorstep every 30 days. You never have to leave the kitchen or grill. Take a look at that. And Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets Austin, the best in the business. 6 incredible flavors. Go try one where you enjoy adult beverages. So without further ado, Mr. Lou Finocchiaro. How you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great. Great to be here, Jeffrey. What a weekend. Divisional NFL, UFC 311, and in the next week or two, we're going to see this tsunami wave of bettors start to realize there's no more NFL, and we're going to see some much more active line movement, although there's been a lot in this card in the UFC. And then once March Madness is over, we get to steal the show for a while, and it's really nice because the UFC really gets to shine these few next 5-6 months.
Well, you'll be happy as well. On Friday mornings, we have the NCAA Insiders. It was 3 men in a box. Now it's 4 men in a box. They started here 2 years ago. They're coming up on their 3rd year. NCAA baseball. They're going to come on this week, talk about Ohio State and Notre Dame, and then their yearly preview booklet comes out the following Friday, and then college baseball starts on Valentine's weekend. So I know you're a big Nebraska Omaha guy, and we will be talking down the road, of course, about Nebraska and Omaha. We got time to go, but college baseball right around the corner, Lou.
Isn't that Matt Grissom? Is that?
Yes.
Yes, he and I connected last year because I work College World Series as well. And he actually went to Omaha, and I tried to point him to places to go to, though nobody really needs that. He's a brilliant young guy and totally passionate on college baseball, and college baseball is blowing up. In another 5 years, it's going to be just like the NCAA basketball tournament. And I can't love college baseball enough.
Oh, I can't wait. And he's trying to work with Derek Stevens at the Circa. They're going to be down taking over Omaha for the College World Series. So we got plenty of time to talk about that. You started in the intro, divisional games, NFL, 4 games. Obviously, the headliner, Lamar versus Josh Allen. We got the rested Lions, the rested Chiefs. I think Mahomes will be 29 to 30 days since he got behind center. Any one of the 4 really intrigue you, Lou?
All 4 intrigue me. I'm a huge NFL fan since I was in diapers. So I'm going to be watching plenty of football, and I'll be doing my Marty Feldman watching football and fights on Saturday. So I can't wait to watch all of them. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what a monumental game Baltimore and Buffalo will be, just because of the fact that both of these teams can't wait to get to Kansas City. They've stumbled in their approaches on trying to get there in the past years. I see that line went Buffalo 1, now Baltimore 1.5. I comprehensively disagree with that move. I am of the feeling that Allen is a far superior quarterback to Lamar. Yes, Lamar's a superstar, and yes, he has unbelievable talent. But if you watch the playoff games he's been in prior to last year, if they get behind, he gets tight, his team gets tight, and he is not your traditional pocket passer, stand-up quarterback. He is mobile, and as long as he's got his mojo running and they play from the lead, they're unstoppable. But if you get them down, that's when trouble occurs. Now, will Derrick Henry help them, power themselves into a close situation in the first quarter? That's what they're hoping. But should Buffalo get out 7-0, 10-0, I think you're not gonna be able to pull a pin out of Baltimore's butt with a pliers. Excuse the expression. I think it's Buffalo that moves on in this game, not Baltimore.
And you are so spot on. It looks like Zay Flowers will miss his 2nd game, so there's the guy that gets stretched the field. Mark Andrews, Isaiah likely will be fine. Bateman has come on, but you just talked about Lamar and tightening up like a snare drum here, and that's what happened. Championship game against the Chiefs. They were favored against the Chiefs last year. In come the Chiefs, put up 10 points in the first quarter. Lamar couldn't hit water if he was on a boat in the middle of Atlantic, and they lost the game in the first quarter there.
Yeah, I'm going to give that. I said before last year, I'm going to give last year to Monken, the offensive coordinator, who had his head so far up his rear, there was a bump between his shoulders, Jeff. That was the offensive coordinator. And yeah, it looked like Lamar couldn't maneuver, but the offensive coordinator came out throwing the ball around the field, never give him a chance. That was unbelievable. And so it's that history in Baltimore, despite John Harbaugh being a top NFL coach, in my opinion. They're going to have to prove it to me.
UFC 311, Inglewood, California, main card, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Last weekend, are we seeing just a small shift? I listened to your Sneak Tea podcast. The chalk just 9-5, and we know last year's historical 70.5% favorites coming in. Maybe this is a sign, Lou, that we're finally going to get some dogs here in 2025.
Well, that would be nice, but clearly, if you look at the opening lines this week and the obtuse the favorites have just been hammered up. 8 of the 14 favorites have just been completely clobbered. So the market is still believing the 70.5 and didn't look to last week's 9-5 result. That's fine by me. I try and uncover value in underdogs, or I try and uncover value any way I can. Hopefully we have a few angles here that we can elaborate on and provide our listeners with some opportunity.
I always send you an email. I say, you are the man. Give us 4 fights that you want to break down. And I talk to you backstage. And again, I'm not the expert. I'm learning card by card.
We all are.
I have the Circa app up today. Live odds to the second. Derek Stevens Jeffrey Benson on Fremont Street. Go check them out. The fight that I would like you to just discuss, and my eyes are looking at this. There's a fighter that has lost twice to who we call a bad man. That's Alex Pereira. And obviously, I'm talking about Yuri Prochaska. He is fighting Jamal Hill. Now, Jamal Hill also has lost to Mr. Pereira. But when Yuri lost the second time to Pereira, what I saw was a beaten man where he almost was talking about retirement. He had walked into that octagon ready to go, and Alex just kind of ripped his heart out. I am looking at this right now as a must win for Yuri. I can get him at plus 105. Now, I'm not saying Jamal Hill shouldn't be minus 125 here, but in Lou's eyes, can you help me and break down this fight?
Yeah, in this fight, you got a Sensi warrior from the Czech Republic in Prochaska, and he was invited to the UFC a year or two earlier than he arrived there, but decided to take his time because he wanted to be fully ready. And mentally and offensively, he is very ready. But once he got to the elite and he was propelled there quickly, he realized, or his camp has realized, and maybe they haven't because there hasn't been great correction, but bettors realize that he hangs his hands down low and his strike defense is subpar, period. Now, in two fights with Pereira has been able to kick those ribs, kick that thigh, kick the ribs, kick the thigh over, then go to the temple and see you later. It's timber. So it's mandatory that Prochaska, who puts so much, he puts everything he has into this. Yeah, he was deflated and discouraged after that fight, but he didn't quit. He went back to the gym, and his camp must be telling him to hold his hands up and come with some defense. And if he does that in this fight, he'll be way better prepared. Now, on the other side, Hill is a street kid from Chicago and a gangbanger. He early in his career, he was a talker and a flapper, and it rubbed me the wrong way. I thought his skills were inadequate, that he was just a good striker. He has a fluidity of movement to him, so he is defensive. And I really have not been a believer in Hill, and I personally am not his biggest fan. But this isn't a personal business. When I look at these fighters now, and I watched the interviews yesterday, Hill came off humble, contrite, mature, developed, complimentary to his opponent. And that's way different than what I've seen from him before. And I watch all these interviews. I think that it takes more than one camp to develop potent defense. It's an evolution, not a revolution. And I think Hill is probably the rightful favorite in this fight, and I lean to him here. Yuri's going to have to show me that he can take out a guy like Hill, and I think Yuri and Hill are both 5, 6, 7 ranked in that division, not 2, 3, or 4.
Oh, thank you so much. I just looked at it and I was just shaking my head here, knowing how big of for both opponents, obviously both fighters, such a big fight on such a big card, and not even in the top 4 of that we're going to break down here. So thank you so much for breaking that down for me. I can't wait for that fight.
It's going to be great. You picked one of the best fights of the night, Jeff.
Well, you have my work cut out for me. We got 4 fights we're going to break down here. The first fight that we're going to break down is Ulan Bakov versus Carpenter. And currently, let me just change this right here for us here. What do we have here for odds? Currently, the under over 2.5 minus 270. Carpenter now plus 270. Ulan Bakov minus 340.
Ulanbekov comes from the Dagestani camp coached by Khabib Nurmagomedov. That also includes both Umar Nurmagomedov in the co-main event, and Islam Makhachev in the main event. Those three guys are teammates. World-class competitors are Nurmagomedov and Makhachev. Tagir has struggled. He lost 3 or 4 fights back to Tim Elliott, who's a quirky, awkward, gristled veteran and capable wrestler. And he's beaten decent fighters. In his last, he knocked out Cody Durden, who is a capable fighter, not world class. Ulanbekov's been highly injured. He's been relatively inactive, hasn't fought in maybe almost a year layoff. And I don't believe he is in the same category as the rest of the Dagestanis, even though that's his bunch, that's his group, that's who he hangs with. Now, I always talk about the great rivalry between the Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialists and the Russian wrestlers. How much they hate each other in respectful fashion, meaning they believe their style is better than the others. Well, there's another rivalry that's starting to come to the forefront, and that's Dagestani wrestling, which is second to none. If it's second to any, however, it's second to American wrestling. American world-class wrestlers are beginning to rule MMA, and that's because not only do they come with the same unrelenting spirit, drive, motivation that the Dagestani wrestlers do, they also come usually from college, which means they have a college education, and you can count on some IQ. So the American wrestler, Dagestani wrestler rivalry is starting to really blossom, and that's what we have here. So facing Tagir is going to be a young man named Clayton Carpenter, who is simply a savant wrestler. He's 28 years old, and Tagir is now 33 years old. Tagir will be an inch taller. He's a lefty, and 4 inches of reach. So as this fight's on its feet, which Tagir would possibly have a little advantage on because of that reach, it will be interesting. But I do believe that both men are going to charge into one another and try and dominate the other with their specialty, wrestling. And I think that Clayton Carpenter is more than ready for this opportunity. He doesn't have the UFC experience. He doesn't have the well-known camp, although the MMA lab here in Phoenix is a world-renowned camp with a world-renowned coach. And let's not forget, they have a whole bunch of world-class 135ers. Mario Bautista, Sugar Sean O'Malley, Kyler Phillips, all train at the lab and beat up on this 125-pound Carpenter day in and day out. This kid Carpenter is more than up for the task. My best bet this week, Clayton Carpenter, as I gave out on the Sneak Teep podcast Monday. And the fact that he's 270 now gives you options. You can wait and see if the line continues to go up, because I do believe there'll be people just seeing that Ulanbekov is of that Khabib camp, and they're going to bet him blindly. But Carpenter's very up for this, very ready for this. He's the shorter, thicker fighter, and I'm hoping that what we get is a third round, because in the third round, that's when we'll earn our money.
I can't wait. I love the price. I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to sit and wait, see if it tiptoes to 300, but plus 270 is a great number to get right now. Yep. The next fight, Almeida versus Spivak.
What a great contrast of styles this is. Spivak's from Moldova, and his nickname's the Polar Bear. But any polar bear is much faster than Spivak. Spivak is slower than evolution, and he looks just like Nosferatu. So he's a freakish-looking dude, but he's very skilled. He's got good stand-up, good power, but he's a little bit telegraphing, and like I say, he's not quick. Now we flash forward over to Almeida. Jayton Almeida used to fight at 205 pounds. He was destroying anyone in his path at 205, and so no one would fight him. In order for this kid to get a fight, he had to move up to heavyweight. And since then, he's tearing through heavyweights. And he fought his first heavyweight fight, maybe 222, then 232. He'll probably weigh 245 or so for this fight. Speed. agility, strength, and now experience after the Curtis Blades loss, where he threw Curtis Blades around like a rag doll for the first round, and then Blades wrestled him up. He learned tremendously from that experience, and Jayton Almeida is going to be a handful for anyone to handle. I looked for Jayton Almeida. You can, in order to try and get that price down, because his price is obtrusive. In order to try and get that price down, you could go the points method, because you give 7.5 points to the other fighter, but you still got to, you give minus 220, which is no bargain. Or you go inside the distance, which I believe is quite a possibility. I think Jailton's just too much for him, for the Moldovan fighter Spivak. And to win by finish is a minus 200. That's probably where I go with this fight. Jayton Almeida to win by finish. That's available at DraftKings, minus 200.
And currently, right now, Almeida minus 470, Spivak plus 360, over 1.5, Lou minus 105.
Yeah, so that total's telling you a little bit that this thing may not go all three.
Third fight here, and now you got me here. Divalishvili faces Nurmagomedov.
Yes, the champion Merab Divalishvili fights out of Sarah Longo Weidman in Jersey. Great champion. His nickname's the Machine, and appropriately so, because the guy is just like the Energizer Bunny, man. He don't stop. Chain wrestling. It's just like the old Steely Dan tune, Chain Lightning. All Merab does is take you down. If you get up, he takes you down again. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Unrelenting. He doesn't get tired. He can fight for 15 rounds, let alone just 5 rounds. But he doesn't really have heavy hands. If he strikes with volume. And he can be emotional. And for this fight, he is a little bit he was really emotional prior to the fight. In the last few days, clearly his camp has gotten to him and told him to put a lid on the emotion, because it can't help him. But Umar Nurmagomedov is the cousin to Khabib. Divalishvili did not want to fight Umar. He didn't want to fight him before when he was offered. He didn't want to fight him here. And the UFC wanted a fight in March. Merab, and in rightful fashion, Merab wanted to fight in March. The UFC needed a headliner in January. Merab really didn't want to take the January fight, and he'd have fought Godzilla before Umar Nurmagomedov, but the UFC kind of coerced January and Nurmagomedov on Divalishvili, which I think is rankled Divalishvili a little bit. If you look at some past interviews, he doesn't think he's being respected by Umar. He thinks Umar has been propelled up the ladder too quickly, and he has to earn his way. And the issue for Umar Nurmagomedov, unfortunately, is no one in that weight class wants to fight him. They all just say no and turn their back. It's like, oh no, hey, we want to fight. Get us a fight. How about Umar? Oh, wrong number. Boom. So Umar's a bad hombre, and he just beat Corey Sandhagen, who's as good as anyone in the bantamweight division, and he beat him pretty good. So Umar's the real deal, but he's younger, he's less experienced, and he hasn't been in with the same caliber of quality opponent that Divalishvili is. I think Merab's a little too emotional for the fight, and the price on him is really advantageous. Listen, Divalishvili opened as an underdog, surprisingly enough, plus 142. Right now, we can catch him, what, 260? That's bordering on disrespectful. And while the number seems wrong, can Merab Divalishvili win a decision against Umar Nurmagomedov? I think that's the question in this fight, and I'm not sure he can. So this is probably one I sidestep, but not one this is one I'll surely watch, maybe not bet.
Yeah, and the over is right now 4.5 rounds minus 298. So right there, as you said, it sounds like this one's going to the cards.
If there's a finish, it would be Umar, and it's because Merab, he's claimed that he's not going to wrestle. He's going to stand and strike. That's emotion speaking. If he, in fact, I don't think Longo is going to let him do that. But if he, in fact, does that, then Umar could finish the fight.
And the main event here, as we get it right here. All right, you're going to test me here. Makhachev versus Tsarukyan.
Yeah, very good. Boy, Jeff, you're evolving like these fighters are. Makhachev, the champion, the Dagestani protege of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Many, including myself, feel he's better than Khabib because his striking is so good as well. Just like Khabib, he has just IQ out the wazoo. The guy's very smart, been around fighting his whole life. Looked up to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Khabib and his dad fashioned this guy to be what he is today. There's really no chinks in his armor. If there's any chink in the armor, it's that he's had some really wicked competition. Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and then his last fight against Poirier. I mean, he's fighting the who's who of the division, sawing them down. Now, in that fight against Poirier in the last fight, he finished him in the fifth via submission. Right after the submission, he laid on the ground, and you could see the relief leaving him. He was stressed. It was a tough fight, and Poirier gave him everything he wanted and more. Now you get this kid Tsarukyan, who fought Makhachev in Tsarukyan's UFC debut. It was a short notice fight, so Tsarukyan really had the advantage there because he parachutes into a fight. Makhachev's looking to fight one guy. Now he's got to fight another. Makhachev won a 3-round decision, but this fight is now scheduled for 5. Tsarukyan then 24 is now 28, and Makhachev then 28 is now 33 or 32, and so 4.5, 5 years later, these guys meet again. Now, this is what's interesting in this one, Jeff, is that these guys will weigh 155, but both walk around in street clothes at $188 to $192, and when they fight, they'll both be a couple of 190 pounders in there. So it's going to be a fascinating fight to watch. And the total, I think, gives me the indication of where I need to go with the side. Again, another 4.5. I think the 4.5 indicates to me that a Makhachev decision win. And the reason I say that is experience. He is the taller, longer man. And while Tsarukyan, and I want to bet him, I like Tsarukyan, and I think the price is a little out of whack. Tsarukyan is really the side for me if I bet this or not. It's, can I bet Tsarukyan, understanding that he's had a bunch of 3-round fights lately. He tends to come out fast in those. And should he come out fast in this, what's he going to have left later if he doesn't take Makhachev out of there early? So, I'm dancing around in circles on both co-main and main event because they're so closely contested and they're such high caliber athletes. And a gun to my head, I think it's Tsarukyan that may have the better chance at the upset than Dvalishvili.
Yeah, right now Makhachev minus 325, Tsarukyan plus 260, over 4.5, Lou, at about 188.
Yeah, and Tsarukyan opens 185, so now we get him doubled. I mean, are the bookmakers that bad they make a mistake on a double? No. These bettors are used to just watching the favorite parade come in and cash in their parlays, and that's what they're doing leading into this card. And I'm not going to warn them because I want them to keep betting those chalk because I'm going to come back on a couple underdogs in here. I just need to see weigh-ins first, especially with this main event, with these two guys walking around like they do. How does each man look on the scale? Is anyone drawn? Does anyone miss weight? There's a lot left in this fight week, and it all takes place tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific.
Scroll has been going the whole time. Everyone knows on Twitter or X to find you at GAM. Lou, as we always wrap up this segment, Lou, tell them where they can find your work, your website, and of course, your donation that you make through your website as well.
Yeah, well, I'm on the East Coast Sports Investors every Thursday, and I'm tickled to do that. And I get VSiN appearances, and there'll be a few they'll be a little bit more populated now in the next few months as the monster football kind of fades away. But to reach me, Lou@gamblu.com is the email, but easier is gamblu.com is the webpage. There's testimonials there, everything I do as well. Last year, 16% of our gross proceeds for Gamblu went to the San Xavier mission south of Tucson. It's the oldest mission in the United States, obviously Arizona too. They're doing great work down there. And I went to college at the University of Arizona, was looking for some kind of charity that I could route some of our proceeds to. This was such a natural idea. And I've been going there, taking my nana, my grandparents, my parents there for years. And so I really appreciate you letting me mention not only the webpage, but our work with San Xavier Mission.
Well, we can't wait. Is there, I don't have the schedule in front of me. This is sometime a question that we don't have the answer. Is there fights next week, or do we have a couple of weeks off?
We have 1 week off. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Saudi Arabia.
Sounds like a plan. Go follow Lou @GamLou. Check out his website, of course, @gamlou.com. Listen, everyone, 5 o'clock, Ron Marbalewski will end the day live from LA. We're going to talk some college football, the championship game, and the NFL as we break down the 4 divisionals there. Thank everyone for watching and listening, and we will see you soon.